have coming right up is Josefa Salinas. She is a powerhouse. Powerhouse. Oh my gosh, just the legacy that she already has created, in the on air. I'm like, the amount of impact, between her role on the radio and what she does in the community. I'm like, I couldn't even begin to imagine the amount of impact that Josefa has. And we are so grateful that she's gracing us this afternoon, that we get to meet her and we get to hear from her expertise. Josefa, thank you so, so much for being with us today. Are you on your radio cave? Hold on, you're on mute. You're muted still. You're muted. You gotta unmute. How do we get you to unmute? You're muted.
Unmute. Okay. There we go.
There you go. Yay!
I'm unmuted.
Everything's right about that, Josefa. We are so
Let me see if
grateful.
I can turn this down a little bit. There we go. Now, not so much of my studio is showing. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really, really amazing to be here. I've been listening in and see Nicole Henderson. Just what an incredible amount of information and inspiration she gave to people. But I know, especially for anyone that's ever thought about writing a book, because almost everybody says, "Oh, I need to write a book," but how many people actually do it? Because there's so many stumbling blocks. And she just gave some amazing information on how to actually put that first step forward. So kudos to you, Nicole.
Thank you. With you, I'm gonna ask, how about your on-air experience. How did you get started? Oh my God, 34 years?
Probably a little bit longer than that, but it was really kind of an interesting story. I was a juvenile probation officer because when I went to college, I had a double major in political science and psychology. So I came out and really that was about the only job I could get. And I had a daughter, so it was really important that I start being able to support her. And so I was working in juvenile hall, and one day my boss called me in to his office and he said, "Why are you here?" And I had been there 6 years at this point. And I said, "Well, my daughter, the one sitting in the lobby, the one that sleeps in a jail cell overnight while I'm at work, that's why I'm here, to support my child." He goes, "You don't have to be here. I have to be here. There's nothing else I can do. You belong somewhere else. Get out of here." And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, okay. And at first I was kind of hurt. And then I said, wait a minute. I think he's actually trying to tell me it like a compliment, because he was a very, very serious man. Never complimented anybody. And so I went and talked to a friend of mine. Her name was Eva Rhodes. And she worked at a station called KSOL in San Francisco. And I said, hey, you know what? Let's see, I can talk really well. I could be a politician. Then I was like, no. Then I said TV. And then I was like, And I said, radio. Let me go talk to Eva. So I went and talked to Eva. She said, go to the radio station and ask. I walked into the radio station and I said, hey, I want to be on the radio. And they laughed, like, yeah, you and a million other people. So they put me with this incredible woman by the name of Eleanor Curry. She was their community affairs director. And so Eleanor let me kind of shadow her, and I talked her in very quickly into letting me having 15 minutes on the radio, because I just knew that if I could get 15 minutes, that it would catapult myself into something else. So I had a talk show called The Last Chill. And because the radio station was so incredibly popular, I had opportunities to interview Luther Vandross, Howard Hewitt, Jeffrey Osborne, all the Heavy D, all these people when they came to the radio station. So I was very fortunate in that was how it started. But then I also, in the work that I did, had access to stories and ideas and being involved in the community. I mean, I ran a story of a woman who took the fall for a guy in the Mexican mafia. I interviewed her the night before she went to jail. And she sat there and told this incredible story of how the government knew exactly what they were doing. And you talk about getting bombarded by law enforcement and where's your source, blah, blah, blah. I had a story where a guy came on my show and left an on-air letter to his parents. Because we're talking the 80s. So that's why, I mean, it might not sound profound now. In the 80s, these were very, very profound topics. He came on and left a online letter to his parents telling them how much he had wished they would have accepted the fact that he was gay. Because back then, it wasn't something that was easily accepted. And he was dying of AIDS. 2 weeks after the show aired, he died. And his parents had been telling everyone that he had, I think, cancer or something with his lungs. They never acknowledged that he was gay and that he was dying of AIDS. So these, I mean, really Geraldo was my hero at that point, because that's when Geraldo was doing all those like just unbelievable interviews and investigations. And I was like, I'm going to be the female Geraldo. So I searched for stories that would make somebody pull over to the side of the road if they were driving while they were listening to it. And I always got letters that that's exactly what happened. The show started out 15 minutes. It ended up being a 2-hour show. And the whole time I was still working in juvenile hall. And when I got the radio bug at that point, I was like, okay, how do I make money at this? And they said, well, you got to get some training. So I went back to school. So now I'm on the air. I'm in school at the College of San Mateo, which, by the way, had an incredible radio program run by amazing people who actually worked in radio. That's one of my biggest complaints are these schools and these universities who teach communications. They teach radio, they teach television, but the person's never done it. And I know this because I've gone back to try to take some classes, and I'm sitting in the classroom with people who've never even been on the radio. I'm like, how are you going to tell me? You know, but anyway, that's another story. So I get a couple of years in at a community, this amazing community college. I'm on the radio there too. And this position opens up at a commercial radio station. It was the #1 station. It was called KKSF. And they had a show called Lights Out San Francisco. It's the #1 show in San Francisco. The #2 show was KGO, which was a talk station. That's how, and San Francisco is a big market. It's 4th largest in the United States. So the woman who hosted that decided she didn't want to be on the radio anymore, and she left to go to Seattle. So the program director at the time, Steve Feinstein, he's looking everywhere for a female voice to take over this show. He had interviewed like 120 women. And so I sent him this big basket. I find out all the stuff I could know about him, all the things he likes. I called the receptionist. I knew everything about this man. So I sent him this big basket with all these things that I knew he loved. And then my demo was in there. So he got it and he called me and he said, you have a really nice voice. Great. But I think you need to go work in some small markets first and come back to me when you have a little experience, but you definitely have talent. So I was like, all right, bye. And so then at that point I was like, man, forget radio. And somebody said, oh, no. The Gavin convention, which was a radio convention at that time, is going on tomorrow. You need to go down there. Program directors from all over the country are there, people from radio. So I go into the Gavin convention and I see this guy from KKSF. He looks at me, he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm trying to get a job. He hired me that afternoon. I was on the air that night. But this man tortured me in a good way for 2 years because I was so new and I had never had a commercial job before. I'd been on, the college radio. He made me come in. The show started at 7. He made me come in at 5 o'clock every single day for 2 years. And I had to record my breaks. And by a break, I mean, like when I would say, welcome to Lights Out San Francisco. It's Josefa Salinas here with you. Tonight, you're getting ready to hear Keiko Metsui. So that would get recorded. Every time I opened up the microphone, it would get recorded. So I would bring that tape in and he would sit and listen to it. And he would go through every single break one by one to tell me what I did wrong.
Wow.
It was, most of the time I left his office crying because he was ruthless. But what he did for me by doing that is made me into an air personality, which is something nobody's doing now. I could work at a country station. I've worked hip hop, talk radio, R&B, CHR, old school. I've worked a bunch of different formats. Most people get stuck in a format. They only know how to sound one way. But because of this man, I mean, I've done smooth jazz. I can work in any format. They could put me on a country radio station tomorrow, and I'd have a 10-gallon hat and some boots ready to go.
Wow.
I could do it because of this man. I had great program directors. Steve Feinstein, Lee Michaels at KBLX. KBLX stole me from KKSF. And then Rick Cummings, Michelle Mercer here in LA, and Michelle Sanasuoso at Hot 92.3, Mike Marino. Just good program directors who understand the need to develop talent and to let talent grow and then recognize talent.
I am fascinated.
So that's how I got into radio.
I'm so fascinated, because really, it hasn't changed much. The radio must have changed, but the power of your voice and the need to actually hear it is much more needed at the moment, because there's an opening for a lot of people. Radio just kind of like morphed into a podcast. I think.
I told radio it was going to do, and they didn't believe me.
And you're seeing it, and it's giving more people opportunity to kind of create their own radio stations instead of go through the pain of what you went through of trying to hunt a radio station that will trust you. And but it still remains that people need to get trained, because how many podcasters, you listen to them, and the amount of critic you got for how you flexed your voice, or how you said that differently, or how I couldn't imagine how many different ways it could possibly correct you on what you did wrong for 2 years. I'm like, how many are there? But then I begin to reflect, like even right now at the summit, I never had training on how to do this, to write with my voice, or but imagine just being on the feet of Josefa Salinas, who actually had that training, who actually had that expertise, who actually you were privileged to, and I wouldn't say privileged in a way where it just was given to you, but that you really went through the training, your life's work of all of the different, like you could change the music and you could still rock it, and and do you change your voice according to the music that you?
Well, of course, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I did when I was at Power 106, I did mornings. I've actually done mornings in LA. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 times I've done mornings in LA, which is almost unheard of. That's like everybody's goal. Do mornings in LA, do mornings in New York. I've been able to be on the morning show 4 different times. And I did the morning show with the Baker Boys. I did the morning show with Frank Lozano at Power 106, but then I talked them into letting me have a slow jam show at night, which is all love songs. So of course in the morning we're all up, Power 106, da, da, da. And at night it's the slow jam show. We're playing all your love songs and dedications. We're kicking people to the curb. It's a whole nother mood that you're creating, because remember, radio is theater of the mind. Just like a podcast is theater of the mind. What do you want people to see and feel with your voice?
Wow, that is so beautiful. Josefa, you're such an inspiration, and thank you so much for sharing with us this journey, because certainly it's a long journey, and I'm sure sometimes when people ask you, so how did you get in the radio? They're probably not given this gift of your entire journey, so I want to give honor to that. I wanted to ask you a question, though. It's about industry, and you said that you predicted, you were trying to tell radio about podcasting. Mm-hmm. Now we have another technology, and I've actually sat in rooms in Clubhouse, and I feel that there's a lot of people who are coming from a scarcity state of mind when it comes to using their voice and also as a profession. I mean, they were talking about those AI programs that read books, and they've been losing jobs doing that. And yet you're saying that people want these personalities. I loved what you said here. Radio is theater for the mind. What would you like to say to those individuals who have lost a few jobs to artificial intelligent readers? How would you get them to shift their mindset to continue with their art and to continue with their profession?
Well, there's no way that a computer is ever going to sound like a human being, because a computer can't process emotion. Not yet, at least. God help us the day it can. But a computer can't. So a computer can read a certain way, and they can probably program it to sound a certain way. But if there's somebody out there who's lost a job, as I guess you're saying, like as a person who reads like audiobooks, is that it?
Yes, audiobooks and also newspaper and magazine articles.
Oh, so that's writing as well.
Yes.
So now you're talking about, so basically the communications field. Well, in radio, I mean, they have downsized so much. I mean, that's a whole nother subject on who killed radio. But because now they'll have one air personality, like Ryan Seacrest on KISS. Ryan Seacrest is on like 40 different radio stations, maybe more. So he's not in all those cities at the same time. Come on, it's impossible. So somewhere he's not live. Let me tell you something. Everywhere he isn't sitting personally, he's not live. So that means he's either pre-recorded or it's getting sent through an ISDN line, and somebody on the other end is joining in. Like they'll have a local person there to do local stuff, and then the main person is brought in. Or it could be voice tracked. Voice tracking, and I mean, I track, but I can tell you that voice tracking is done so often. There'll be people that are on 20 or 30 different radio stations, and they track, because let's say it's a station that plays the same format, like a KISS. The KISS here and the KISS in like 10 different cities is probably all playing the same playlist. They may do local drops, they may do local commercials, but the songs are the same. So I can sit in a studio and record my voice, and maybe if I'm really good and I really care, I'm going to do 10 different recordings, because I'm going to do something special so that each market feels like I'm there. Wow. But if I'm not, if I'm just trying to get my paycheck, I'm going to do a generic recording and send it off to all 10 stations. So how do you fight that? It's almost impossible on that level, because the big corporations like iHeart and some of the other ones, they realize now that they can pay one person and make them do the job of 20, and they're not paying the salary of 20 jobs. But people need to work so bad that they're willing to get paid that little bit of extra money to do all those stations. The writing pools have come way down. They don't have 30 reporters. They may have 10, and then those 10 have to pick the best stories. So how do you still find work? Especially because the pandemic was a gift to all of us. Imagine a late night show. We'll take Jimmy Kimmel, for example, before the pandemic. If you could not come and sit in his chair next to him, you weren't on his show. That was just the rule of television. There was no such thing as having the person over here on the screen or talking like this, and I'm here and you're over here and we're over here and we're all talking. They always said that the audience would never accept it. You could not do television that way. You could not do radio that way. But the pandemic leveled the playing field. It showed the big corporations, number one, that people still wanted to see Jimmy. They wanted to see, all of these night people, day people, Good Morning America, all these things. They wanted to see it. They were willing to look at it on their computer or even see it on TV, knowing that the people were at their houses. They didn't care, because it's the relationship that the individual personality builds with the audience that makes them want to see and keep listening. Yeah. So if you have lost your job to that consolidation, the playing field has never, in the history of what I know communications to be, been this level. It's level, and now we can all create exactly what they created. So you have to be willing to do the work, because it is a lot of work. I spend so much time in my studio for my 1 hour show that I do. I have a 1 hour talk show that's been running in LA for over 20 years. I spend so much time on that 1 hour talk show every week, just making sure I've got great information, great interviews, great subjects. For my radio that I do, I'm on multiple stations. Some of them have a generic feel to them because the markets that they're in, they get sent out to multiple markets. So you can't say like Q102, Power 106, Old School 104.7, because that's not the dial position in that city. So I have to be more generic. But you make it personal and you still make it your own, even though it's generic in how you present yourself. So in consolidation and in losing jobs and in, the downsizing, you know what you know how to do. Do it and put it up online. And you don't have to hire a bunch of marketing people if you don't want to. You can start. What were you good at? What did people love about you? Take that topic and expound on. I mean, come on, they've got people on TikTok and Snapchat and stuff with millions of listeners doing ridiculous things. So that shows you people will come. Give them something to come to.
Yes.
Give them something to come to. Care seems to be the thread of everything you do. You put a lot of care into what you do, Josefa. And is it Josefa or Josefa? Josefa. All right. I want to pronounce your name and give honor to that. One thing, when you say care, I want to just shift gears, if you'll allow me. Uh-huh. You're a philanthropist, and the philanthropy that you're part of, you really want to change lives of the future. Can you speak a little about your philanthropic efforts, and particularly an organization that you yourself are heading for young ladies?
Yeah, I've had a nonprofit for 98, 2008, 2019, 33 years. And over the course of those years, I found that I did a number of things, but what I am most passionate about are women and young women. Because I feel like there's so much out there that doesn't feed into the soul of a woman, from marketing and commercials, television shows. I mean, when is the last time that you saw a TV show where guys were fighting over a girl? It doesn't happen, other than maybe The Bachelorette. I don't know, because I never watched The Bachelorette. But I don't know, maybe they get nasty with each other on there. But other than that one show, in most soap operas, most movies, the women aren't fighting over a guy. I mean, the guys aren't fighting over a girl, but almost across the board, it's always women against women, women fighting against women for a man, women fighting against women for attention. It starts, you see that I coached track for second graders to eighth graders. You would see this competition girls against girls in the second grade. How the heck did they learn it that fast? What is it that they were trying to get the little boy to look at them? So what are we missing teaching our daughters that they need the attention of a boy in second grade? What are we not giving them? So the thrust of what I firmly believe is teaching the lost art of being a girl. I don't care how old you are. We're all a little girl inside. And teaching that lost art. How do we reprogram our daughters and our sisters and our aunts and our grandmothers, everybody, to know that they are enough, to have enough self-esteem and to understand that you're okay being you. Now, how do we make that better? But we have got to take control of the media, and I'm part of the media. That's why I'm so adamant about how I present myself. When I'm out in public, When I'm on the air, I used to refuse to do certain types of commercials. I mean, just out and out refuse, because I didn't want my name associated with that. Make those decisions, but we all have a responsibility for what we allow to be out there. And I'm not saying that everything has to be all, Superwoman, Power Woman, because there's room for all subjects. But we lean so heavy into programming our little girls to believe that their life is all about competing with another woman. And I always tell, this is one thing I always tell people. I said, you take a woman and drop her in the middle of a city. Take a man and drop him in the middle of the city, and they don't know the city. I guarantee you within 5 minutes, the guy's going to know where to play golf, basketball, tennis, and he's going to be able to get himself a cup of coffee, and he's probably talking to another guy. Drop the girl, she'll be walking around for a while. Because we're not taught how to be friends. Guys are taught teamwork. Guys are taught being a part of a team. Guys are taught that, your best friend, a lot of guys have them forever. We don't teach girls how to be friends because we're so busy teaching them how not to like the girl standing next to them. And most of the time, it's subliminal, it's subconscious, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So that's my empowerment, is to do something about that. I have a program called How to Be a Girl that I've been doing for 12 years now here in the LA area. And it's a summer program. Hopefully next year, this year it's only a day camp. Usually it's an overnight camp. This year it's only a day camp. And I think I'm going to move to strictly day camps and try to have many of them next year. But it really focuses on the lost art of being a girl, from how do you walk into a room? The tone of voice that you use. We really try to express and do a lot of role playing with the girls for tone of voice. Like when your mother says, Lupita, what? Immediately, mom's triggered. Immediately, that's going to make mom go, how did she just answer me? When really, Lupita probably didn't mean anything, but she hasn't learned about the control of the tone of her voice. But if she had just said, yes, mom would have responded totally different. So helping these girls understand tone of voice, reaction. I catch the little people around me all the time. I'll say something, they'll be like, yes. I'm like, excuse me? What? I didn't mean anything. I said, but did you hear how you responded to me? But no, check yourself. So that's one of the things, that tone of voice. Girl 101, how do you change the tire on a car? Who taught you that? Everybody's like, oh, you got AAA. Really? Okay, you're out on a dark road, no cell service, or your cell service is dead because you've been Snapchatting and TikToking all night, so you don't have any cell service, and you're on the side of the road, and the spare's in the trunk. I'm not going to be stuck. Are you? Shelter in place, all these kinds of things, balancing a checkbook. About money, when we have the full camp, they come in with a certain amount of money at the beginning of camp, and then they have a checkbook, and when they do things wrong, pay. When they do things right, get paid. At the end of the week, they have a certain amount of money, and then there are gift baskets that they can bid on in a silent auction. So, and then we always teach them about some kind. Now we've got sports, because that's important to me, because I think sports are so important to girls. They really are. And I picked volleyball just because a lot of the girls that we serve come from underserved communities. And volleyball is not a sport that generally gets taught in a lot of these communities, but colleges are searching everywhere for young girls of color for scholarships. But if they don't play, they don't know.
Yeah.
So we introduce them to volleyball. And then we always have some kind of a shepreneur kind of thing that we teach them. Last year, we taught them how to sew hobo bags that they could then, I said, you could make these things on the weekend in your house, sell them at the farmer's market, sell them at your school, put them up online, have a little business. So we teach them how to do that, make a one-page website where they can put up something that they've made. We taught them how to make soap, and then how to make it in different designs and fragrances and colors and package it, how to pick a name. And then every year they pick their word. What is their word that expresses who they are. And then we have this big thing at the end of the week where we have a beauty school that comes in and does their hair and a very light makeup. And they do this big fashion show. The parents come and watch and cry. And then the girls stand on stage and say their word. And it's just, it's such a powerful and amazing experience. I wish I could do it every day. If I could do that, if I had somewhere where I had a building and I could do that every single day, I would be the happiest woman on the face of the earth.
I wish I could go to girls' school.
Oh, yeah, believe me, there's so many moms that say, can we stay? So this year we're going to do a 2-day, it'll be virtual and it'll be in person. So it'll be simultaneous for women where we're going to compact, because with grown women, you can teach a little bit faster than you can with girls. So we can do a lot of the same subjects in 2 days with women, what we take 4 days to do with girls. But it's called How to Be a Girl, the lost art of being a girl. Dream it, believe it, achieve it.
Yes.
Yes.
Napoleon Hill.
Well, Josefa, we love what you're doing for girls. How can we support you? I know you've got a project coming up, or an activity, or a camp coming right up.
Next week, Next week we have a camp, the 17th to the 23rd in Rialto. And you can see about the camp. And we're just now loading up, because I realized I had 12 years worth of information that I should have up there. So we're putting up pictures from all the years and some videos to show what goes on at camp. But if you go to josefasalinas.com, you'll see stuff about my nonprofit, The Power of Excellence, the How to Be a Girl program, a documentary on the making of a man, a mother's journey that we're going to be hoping to do. We're working on a project with Guatemala, with an indigenous girls' school in Guatemala, where I'm going to be putting a small radio station in their school so that these girls can have power and voice, and their podcasts can be heard worldwide, and possibly even broadcasting within their neighborhoods there. Because something that I found out, and I know I'm all over the place, but I'm trying to get a lot of stuff in. During the pandemic in Guatemala, the local radio station, and believe me, I'm going to find out their name and I will be blasting them. The local radio station refused to air the public service announcements for COVID vaccines and COVID information in the indigenous language. They would only do it in Spanish. And they even offered to give it to them pre-recorded in the language, and they refused to air it. Shame on that radio station. And when I find out who they are, everyone will know.
Wow.
Yeah, because you do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, Josefa, I am so grateful for everything that you're doing. I'm like, you serve in so many places, you give in so many places, and you help fund a lot of projects. And my wish for you, I've got 2 wishes, if I can have 2 wishes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that you could impart what you carry for the knowledge of proper use of voice, and so that we can get replaced with computers, and that we can do our podcasts better. You know, I feel that's such a powerful platform for you, because you're so qualified for it, that if you had an online program that teaches on the power of voice, I feel like that's going to fund a lot of the projects that you're doing for the world right now. So that's my second wish, that the projects that you're doing for the world, the nonprofit services that you're doing for the world, gets funded. So yeah, I'm just so blessed with everything that you're like, one superpower, superwoman, you know, saving the world.
My kids used to think I could fly.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well, thank you so much, Josefa. Shamika, would you like to give some words out before we go?
I just wanted to thank Josefa for gracing us, more importantly for the work that she's done over the years, and allowing the young ladies that she touches every year, and even through her voice on the radio. I would love for Josefa to please just put the link in here so people can go and support, and we can share it out on all of our lives, so that we can get not only more support for this event that's coming up here next week, which we're so excited. You guys are going to follow Josefa, go to her social media page to see how these young ladies are just not only being affected, but more importantly, how that is changing the trajectory of what's to come. And more importantly, please just go there and support not just her efforts with, the girls, but everything that's to come, because this voice, such a beautiful voice that has graced the radio waves for so many years. And I just also encourage, I know Michelle and Ava, we're doing some amazing things. I would really love to have Josefa coming up on our new show that we have coming, because I'll tell you, now we get a chance to really hear your story, hear at a higher capacity, but more importantly, we want the world to know what Josefa is doing, how she's doing it, but more importantly, all the lives that are being changed in that process. So I just thank you, Josefa, for not only, accepting this ability to come and support, what our efforts are and what we're doing, but more importantly, what you've done. And I get to see this, on a regular basis. And I can almost guarantee you all that every single person that she comes in contact with, including myself, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now, but including myself, really gets to the heart of, and she comes from a deeply rooted place because it's been here for a long time. And this voice here has been powerful, but we're going to make it more powerful in all of the industries that we touch, that we're around, and more importantly, the people that we know can support these efforts. So please do that. And so Josefa, thank you. Thank you, not just for being you, but more importantly, giving us you.
Well, it's my absolute honor. My father always told me that above all else, be of service to others.
Yes.
And so I usually, no matter who I come across, my last thing to them is, how can I be of service to you? And so that's what I leave everyone with. If I can be of service to you, if you have a story that needs to be told, if you have a business that you want to have somebody talk about on the radio, if you have a nonprofit and a project, like your upcoming show that you guys have, let me interview you on my show. My radio show has been around for a long time in the Southern California area, over 30 years in the Southern California area, the talk show. And it's a powerful show. That's how I knew podcasts were going to be what they are today, because I was already doing it.
Yeah.
In the talk show that I had. And I kept telling them, this is what's coming. And they were like, no way, no ways, no. What's up? You don't know what you're talking about. I said, okay. But really,
That would be an honor. Thank you.
Whatever
so
I can
much.
do for anyone in the audience, for anyone listening at another time,
Yes.
that's what I'm here for. God gave me an incredible gift. I'm very good at what I do. And if I don't know how to help you, I know somebody who does. Doing what I've done for as long as I have, my resources are wide, my reach is far. If I can't help you, I will direct you to someone else, because I'm the first one to say, I don't know how to do this, but I can lead you to who does. And I will pass that person right along.
And if I may add, Josefa, this is the reason why we're together. And Ava had two wishes. My wish for you is that your legacy pops up everywhere, internationally, nationally, where the way you're reached, the way you're of service, the way your nonprofit works. I feel that this could be something that is easily replicated with the systems and processes in play. Can you imagine in India, little girls out somewhere having their own radio station, having their podcast, coming from poverty and being able to give information? I could just see so much for you and your legacy. And I'm so thankful that you're still on this planet. And I'm so thankful that we've connected here. And certainly, and I want to say to you, how can we be of service to you? This is a question that we must ask everyone. And that certainly is also your legacy. So thank you so much. And everyone, please go to www.josefasalinas.com. Of course, we'll have that in the description of the YouTube and all of the channels that we have there. And please, please take this from my heart. It's an honor to learn from you. And it's just an honor to be in your presence. And thank you for all that you give.
Thank you all so much. And I wanted to add something real quick, because a lot of people get scared when they see somebody like me and hear me talking about, empowering women and things. I love being a girl, and I am a firm believer in the male side of things as well. And everything that I teach a girl isn't about, we don't diminish men or their roles or anything. I'm about uplifting women and empowering them to be who they can be. But culturally, and I know in a lot of different cultures, there are certain things that girls can do and can't do because it's not culturally acceptable. And at no time would we ever be trying to encourage girls to go outside of what is culturally or accepted within their particular ethnicity or culture. So we work within those boundaries, but you can still be powerful, amazing, strong, and determined, and be a girl.
So good. Yay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Josefa. We hold everything that you said treasured to heart. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye. Have an amazing rest of the evening.
Okay, you too.
Oh.